TIFU by playing Poker Face by Lady Gaga near my kids. I was making dinner with my 5 and 2-year-old kids around and playing my pop mix from Spotify with explicit songs toggled off. Seemed safe enough. Started off fine with Bruno Mars, Kelly Clarkson, John Mayer, you know, safe music. Then came Poker Face by Lady Gaga, where she says 30 times, "Ucker face," as the response to Poker Face. I was A. She says *UCKB, my 5-year-old caught ITC. Spotify doesn't think *UCK is a swear word. My 5-year asks what that means. I divert the question and said it means someone on Spotify missed tagging this song as explicit. She persists. I tell her it's an adult word and eventually we move on. Fun curveball I wasn't expecting. TLDRI ucking up by playing a song with "Ucker face" in it 30 times in front of my kids.
TIFUI unknowingly gave alcohol to violent alcoholics who were apparently in recovery. I live next door to a youngish family. Middle class. Both about 35. He's a teacher, she's gone back to university. They have a daughter who's just started school. Keep to themselves mostly but friendly, and I thought quiet folks. They entertain occasionally. Busy, average, hard-working folks, apparently. About a year ago I was having work done to my flat. The builder was storing materials on my drive in such a way as to narrow the neighbor's access slightly, plus the builder made a lot of construction noise. As a "sorry for the inconvenience," and a "thank you for being cool," I left them a bottle of wine at their door with a card. Fast forward to last Saturday night about 1 a.m. Son wakes me up to tell me the cops are next door. It never occurred to me it might be a domestic issue. We live next door to a high-crime area and prowlers and violent offending is common. I stood at the door and listened to try to determine the safety of my family when the woman of a couple is dragged from the home by the police. She's struggling and screaming at them, this and something about domestic violence. She's secured in the back of the police wagon and the officer read her the temporary protection order her partner had been granted against her. I was floored. I spoke to some of the other neighbors the next day. One lady's flat shares a wall with these guys and tells me she hears it all. That they excess regularly and then argue, often violently. That it's been going on for years and the woman would often seek refuge in the lady's flat late at night. Claiming to be a battered woman. Telling her all about it. Often sleeping on the lady's couch with a small child. I had absolutely no idea. Apparently they'd stopped drinking for all year but started up again about a year ago. I feel bad about the whole thing. Especially fourth child. TLDR. I unknowingly gave alcohol to violent alcoholics who were apparently in recovery.
TIFU by asking a classmate if he had an American accent. This happened a year ago, but I still have classes with the guy and I think he'll hate me forevermore. To preface this, I live in Australia, and when this happened I was at university. At the time, the classes were available online and on campus, so the teacher would record the classroom for the students attending online. I still had about 15 minutes before class resumed, so I just went back into the classroom early. There was only one other person in the room who was a fairly shy kid I hadn't spoken to before. I sit down at the end of the table and we begin to small talk. I notice while he's talking that he seems to have a really strong American accent, like what you'd hear on one of those Californian reality TV shows or something. So, to keep up the awkward small talk I ask him, "Me, are you from around here?" Him, "What do you mean?" Me, "Oh, I just noticed you have an American accent. Are you from the USHM?" "No. I'm not. It's a nerd." Me, "I'm sorry him. I'm autistic." Me, "I didn't know him. GDAY mate. Is that better for you?" At this point I'm baffled. I have ADHD myself and I know quite a few autistic people, but I never knew that sometimes their voice could come off with an accent. I also realized that this whole time the classroom was being recorded and all the people online watched that entire thing unfold. We then sat there in silence for another 10 minutes before the rest of the class entered the room. To this day, every time I share something in class he is the first one to criticize my work. TLDR. I asked an autistic guy if he was American, and he still holds a grudge towards me. TIFU by accidentally inviting my boss to my weekend getaway. So, I had been planning this weekend getaway with my buddies for months. We were going to a remote cabin in the woods to have some fun, drink some beers, and forget about work for a while. As the weekend approached, I was excited to finally take a break from my stressful job and just let loose. But here's where I messed up. I accidentally included my boss in the group message about the weekend getaway. I didn't realize it until I saw his response in the chat, saying he was excited to join us. I immediately panicked because, let's be real, nobody wants to spend a weekend away with their boss. I tried to backtrack and come up with some excuse, but it was too late. My boss had already made plans to come with us, and there was no way out of it. I spent the whole weekend trying to have fun while also keeping a professional demeanor around my boss. It was the most awkward and uncomfortable weekend of my life. TLDR, planned a weekend getaway with friends. Accidentally included boss in group message, couldn't back out. Spent weekend awkwardly balancing fun and professionalism.
TIFU by teaching my little brother the word UWU. A few months ago, I, F19, had taught my little brother, M10, some words including rar, chicky nuggies, owo, and UWU, just for fun, since he was jokingly talking in a very high-pitched voice. I thought nothing of it at the time, but now I'm starting to question if that was a bad idea. This morning, I had just gotten to work when my mom got a phone call from the elementary school about my little brother. Seeing as I was running late, I had to rush inside to clock in, so I couldn't stick around to see what was going on. Not even 10 minutes later, I get a phone call from my mom furiously screaming into the phone, "What on EARTHDOESEWOO mean?" Confused as to what my mom was asking me, I ask her to spell it. She goes, "I don't even know, EWOO." Still confused, I asked her what was going on. Apparently my little brother was going around the playground, saying, UWU, in a high-pitched voice to all of the kids there. The kids then went and told the teacher that he was saying TikTok code words for wanting to hurt people. The teachers, after searching up EWOO meaning and not finding anything, assumed that this very well must be some very bad TikTok code word, and they call my mom. That leads us back to my mom calling me, furiously asking what EWOO means. I finally figure out Thatch meant UWU, so I have to explain to her thought no, this is not some TikTok code word for wanting to hurt people. And yes, it's literally just a cutesy face, like how one would use colon parenthesis to make a smiley face. The teachers, still not believing what's going on, insisted on pulling him out of class and made him sit next to a police officer for the rest of the school day. With that being said, I now have to go to the school on Monday and explain what UWU means to a group of angry teachers and school officials. TLDR, I taught my little brother the word UWU for fun, and he is now in serious trouble at school for saying bad TikTok code words to the kids on the playground. I now have to go up to the school and explain to angry school officials what UWU means.
TIFU by telling my parents I was gay to avoid their arranged marriage proposals. Update. Hey everyone! I don't know if you remember me booting the dude who came out as gay to avoid an arranged marriage anyways. I have an update for you guys. I read all the comments on the original post, from the people telling me to just tell my parents, questioning whether or not I was really straight, laughing at the admittedly fairly funny situation I'd gotten myself into, and a couple of people who were straight up mean at the end of the day, though posting here probably gave me the final push to do something. The weekend after I'd made the post, I visited my parents as always and resolved myself to tell them the truth. However, when I got there, my mom as always pushed the binder in my hands and I kinda lost my resolve to tell her. I decided to just play along. It was then that I remembered the people on this thread who made fun of me for liking femboys and questioned whether or not I was really straight. I kinda took that to heart and decided to look at the binder of dudes in earnest to see if I liked any of them. TBH, I'm really glad I did. Most of the dudes were unattractive as expected, but I found a dude on there who I legitimately think is cuter and more feminine than the vast majority of girls I've seen. I told my mom I liked him and she kinda joked around asking me what the point of being gay is when I wanted a dude who looked like a girl anyways. She talked to his parents. We had a meeting set up over Zoom and overall it went really well. Me and him have a bunch of common interests. We're both massive weebs and history nerds, and he Alcides closed that he apparently cross-dressed in private, which only made me like him more in the end, though we both decided we didn't want to rush into marriage and wanted to do a dating trial run of sorts. I told my parents and they WEREFINE with it. My dad literally just told me that, long as we have marriage as an eventual goal and don't have X before marriage, they didn't mind if we dated. Y'all, literally this whole shitshow could have been avoided. LMFAO. though I'm kinda glad it wasn't. Luckily he lived in the same state as me, but he was still a 3 to 4 hour drive away, so mostly we've just had Discord calls and spent time together, gaming for the past few weeks. This Saturday Thawway finally managed to meet up in person and have a date, and honestly I think I'm kinda in love. Dude's cuter than any girl I've ever met, but unlike most girls he's actually into the same things I am. Anyways, we ended up having a great day out on Saturday and I ended up staying at his place over the weekend, though surprisingly I kept my promisado my dad and somehow avoided having lol. Anyways, yeah, I'm now back home and extremely happy with my decision to lie to my parents. Then again, it really lying if it turned out to be true? I really do like him and will probably ask him to marry me a couple months from now if nothing goes wrong. TLDR, guess I really was gay all along.